I tried to surprise my husband with a home-cooked dinner. My mother-in-law added, "You could have ordered something normal." My husband said, "They were just joking." I cleaned up the table. That night, I emailed a local chef and had the same meal remade for me alone. The photo I posted got 300 likes. His plate stayed empty. I don't post much. I read a lot here, though. And after what happened last week, I can't stop thinking about it. I need to get it out of my system. I've been married to my husband, Ethan, for 5 years. We live in Cary, North Carolina. He's a numbers guy, works in finance at some firm in Raleigh. I do remote marketing, nothing glamorous, but I like the freedom. We don't have kids yet, but we've been talking about it. Or we were before all this started. Ethan's always been close with his mom and sister. I knew that when I met him. I didn't realize how much they still had their claws in him until after we got married. His mom, Gail, has this way of saying things that cut you down but sound polite. Like she'll tell you, "That's a bold color," when she hates your dress. Or, "Some women just aren't meant to cook," when you bring over pie. She's not loud. She's worse. Quiet, constant, and always watching for cracks. Holly, his sister, is a mean girl in a grown woman's skin. She's single, always has drama with men, and thinks every woman is out to take something from her, even though she's pushing 40 and still lives off handouts from their parents. For the first couple of years, I played nice. I offered to help with birthdays, holidays. I invited them to brunches and dinners. But it always backfired. Gail would forget to bring wine. Holly would show up late and talk through the meal. No matter what I did, it wasn't good enough. Ethan always told me, "That's just how they are. Don't let it bother you." But it did bother me. Last week, Ethan had a big week coming up. He was waiting to hear back on a promotion. He'd been working long hours, barely sleeping. I wanted to do something special. Just for him. Just to remind him he's cared for. That home is still safe. So I planned a full dinner. Not just food, a night. Cleaned the whole apartment top to bottom. Lit candles. Soft jazz playing. Set the table properly with cloth napkins and wine glasses. I even wore makeup for the first time in weeks, and that green wrap dress he said made me look like a movie star the first time I wore it. The food? Braised short ribs. Red wine reduction. Garlic mashed potatoes. Asparagus. Homemade mousse. I'd spent over $120 on ingredients and nearly 6 hours cooking. I hadn't done something like this in a long time. I was nervous, but excited. I texted him that afternoon and said, "Try to be home around 7. I have a surprise." He said, "Sounds good. Can't wait." At 7:05, the door opened. It was Ethan, and behind him, Gail and Holly. They all walked in talking, carrying a bottle of wine and bags from some boutique shop. I froze. I was standing in the kitchen with a towel over my shoulder, spoon in my hand. Gail looked around, confused. "Oh, I thought we were grabbing Ty." Holly walked right up to the table and sniffed dramatically. "What is that smell? Are you trying to kill him before his promotion?" I laughed a little, thinking she was joking. But then Gail added, "You could have just ordered something normal. Not everyone wants lamb stew." Ethan looked at me, smiled awkwardly. "Sorry, babe, they were already with me. Figured I'd just bring them back." "You didn't tell them I made dinner?" He shrugged. "I forgot, I guess." "You didn't say it was like a whole thing." I stood there like an idiot, holding that spoon. I said, "It's not lamb. It's short ribs. Braised. With a wine reduction." Holly flopped down at the table. "Yikes. Fancy." Gail poured herself a glass of water, sniffed the air again, and said, "Reminds me of something I had once on a cruise." Couldn't eat it either. I walked into the kitchen. My hands were shaking. I had plated the food already. Everything hot and ready. The timing had been perfect. Ethan followed me. He put a hand on my arm. "Don't get upset. They were just joking." "Why didn't you tell them I made dinner?" "I didn't think it was a big deal." I looked at him. "You didn't think it was a big deal?" He said, "They'll eat. Just bring it out. Don't let this ruin the night." I wanted to scream, but instead I cleaned. Slowly. I wiped down the counter, put the extra food back into pots, put the mousse in the fridge. I took off the apron and said I wasn't hungry. Holly ordered pizza. I heard her ask Ethan, "You want your usual?" He said yes. Gail commented, "Well, this was ambitious. But sometimes less is more." I didn't cry that night. I just lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Around 1 a.m., I got up, went into the hallway. I typed out a message to a private chef I follow online. Local. Does luxury home meals. I wrote, "Hi. I cooked a full dinner tonight, and my husband brought his mother and sister without telling me. They mocked everything I made. Would you be open to recreating it just for me? I don't need a crowd. I just want to taste it without being humiliated." She responded the next morning, "Yes. Tell me everything you made." 3 days later, she delivered it to my door. Plated beautifully. Still warm. I poured myself wine. Set one place. Ate every bite in silence. I posted a photo online. The caption, "Cooked with love. Served with respect. This time, only for me." It got 300 likes. That night, Ethan came home, looked at the table, and said, "Was that for us?" I said, "No," his plate stayed empty. After that night, things started shifting between us. Ethan didn't say much the next day. He acted like nothing had happened. Made coffee, left early, came back late. No mention of the dinner, the photo, the empty plate. Like the whole thing was a speed bump. Just one of those minor spats couples have. But something in me had snapped. I stopped trying to please him. I didn't cook that week. I didn't text him during the day to check in. I didn't ask about his promotion. And he noticed. He started getting annoyed in little ways. Snapping over stupid things. Dishes in the sink. My laptop on the dining table. Once he even said, "Are you just going to mope forever?" Like I was a child throwing a tantrum. That's when I realized he wasn't sorry. Not even a little. He wasn't avoiding the topic because he felt bad. He was avoiding it because, to him, it didn't matter. And his family? They doubled down. A few days later, Holly sent me a DM with a link to a BuzzFeed list. 10 easy meals that don't try too hard. No message. Just the link. I didn't respond. Gail showed up at our door uninvited with soup she said was digestible. Said it loud enough that I couldn't pretend I didn't hear. I told Ethan, "You need to set boundaries with them." He said, "You're overreacting. They're just trying to be helpful now. You're the one being distant." That's when it hit me. He wasn't going to defend me. Not ever. In his eyes, I was the one making drama. The following weekend, his company had their annual summer party. It was a big deal this year. Word was the partners were using it to observe leadership traits before finalizing promotions. Ethan begged me to come. Said it would look bad if I skipped. So I went. I put on a blazer dress and heels. Did my hair straight. Tried to look polished and calm. But 5 minutes in, I knew it was a mistake. We hadn't even reached the open bar before I heard Holly's voice behind me. "Careful. She might try to cater this too." I turned. She was standing with 2 women I didn't recognize, clearly from the firm. I don't know what she had said before I walked up, but they gave me that look, half smirk, half sympathy. Then Gail approached with a glass of white wine. Said, "You look nice." Much simpler than usual. Good call. "Ethan?" He was across the lawn shaking hands and grinning like nothing was happening. I stayed an hour. Then I left. He didn't come home until after midnight. He smelled like whiskey and cigar smoke. "You just bailed," he said, like I'd ruined his night. I looked at him and asked, "Do you even like me?" He laughed. "What kind of question is that?" "I mean it," I said. "Not as your wife. As a person. Do you even respect me?" He didn't answer. I went to bed. He stayed on the couch. The next morning, I called my sister in Chicago and told her everything. She was furious. Told me to come stay with her, even just for a weekend. I almost said yes. But I didn't leave. Not yet. Because something in me changed that night. Not just sadness. Not just disappointment. Something colder. Not revenge. Not yet. but something close. A few days after the party, I noticed Ethan was changing his phone habits. Before, he was casual with it, left it around the house, face up on the counter, always in plain sight. But lately, it was always in his pocket or face down. And at night, he'd take it with him into the bathroom. Stayed in there longer than usual. Always came out with a blank face and zero eye contact. I don't go looking for trouble. I've never snooped. I trusted him. Even when he didn't defend me, even when he let his family mock me. I figured at the very least he was loyal. But something didn't feel right. That gut deep itch. The kind of instinct you don't want to believe. So one night when he fell asleep on the couch, I checked his phone. Passcode hadn't changed. I wish I could say I was surprised by what I found. There wasn't some long affair. No secret second life. It was worse in a way. More subtle. More real. There was a text thread between him and Nicole, a woman from his office. HR, I think. I'd met her once. Pretty. Smart. Friendly in that polished corporate way. I remembered thinking, she's harmless. I was wrong. It wasn't physical. Not yet. But the texts were emotional. Jokes. Personal updates. Long conversations at 11 p.m. Photos of his dinner, when I wasn't cooking. Him saying, wish I could trade places with your night tonight lol. She'd sent a pic of herself in a dress at some gala. He responded, you look amazing. Bet you stole the room. There was one message that stopped my heart. It's just nice talking to someone who gets it. Things at home are complicated. I stared at that line for a long time. He never talked to me like that anymore. And now he was out there painting me as the problem. Saying he was the one suffering. Poor Ethan, with the cold, dramatic wife who doesn't understand him. I didn't confront him. Not right away. Instead, I sat with it. I watched. Waited. The next weekend, he had to work late. He left at 5:30 in khakis and a button-down. Said he'd be back by 10. At 6:15, I drove to his office. Lights were off. No cars. Whole building locked up. I didn't call. I didn't text. I just turned the car around and drove home. He came back at 10:45 with a Starbucks cup and a fake yawn. Said the client meeting ran long. I nodded. Said nothing. That night, I emailed a divorce attorney. I didn't send it. I just saved the draft. Then came the final twist I didn't see coming. Gail called me out of the blue one afternoon while Ethan was at work. Said she wanted to clear the air. Asked if I'd meet her at a nearby cafe. I almost didn't go. But something told me to. We sat across from each other over coffee and croissants. She was polite at first. Asked how work was going. Commented on the weather. Then she leaned in and said, I think we both know this marriage isn't working. I just blinked. She continued. Ethan's under a lot of stress. He needs someone who can support him without all this emotional upheaval. I stayed silent. She smiled that cold, practiced smile and said, look, we can make this easier for everyone. If you move out quietly, I'm sure Ethan will be generous. We can help you relocate, get you back on your feet. They wanted me gone. Not just out of the house. Out of his life. She was treating me like a temp who'd stayed too long in a permanent role. I left without finishing my coffee. On the drive home, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I planned. I didn't say a word to Ethan that night. Or the next. But I started preparing. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to fight for a place in a life where I was constantly humiliated, dismissed, and blamed for my own pain. I was going to leave on my terms. And make damn sure they all felt the loss. First, I called my old boss back in Chicago. She'd been hinting about a position opening up, a senior content strategist role at a firm where I used to freelance. I told her I was thinking about relocating. Within a week, I had a solid offer. Higher pay. Full remote flexibility until I settled in. She even offered to help me find a short-term place in the city. Then I contacted that divorce attorney again. This time I hit send. I spent 2 full weeks making copies of everything, bank statements, credit card records, tax files, even Ethan's texts with Nicole. I took screenshots of every late-night message, every flirty line, every moment he said I was the problem. Then I hired a forensic accountant. Quietly. Because I had noticed something strange. Money disappearing from our joint account. Not big chunks, just little amounts here and there. $100 here, $250 there. All labeled under vague things like vendor or expenses. Turns out Ethan had been moving money to a private account he didn't think I'd ever notice. The accountant found it all. I didn't confront him. I waited. Then one Saturday morning, I told him I was heading to the grocery store. Instead, I drove to a UPS store and mailed certified copies of the financial records and Nicole's texts to the head of HR at his company. Not anonymous. Full return address. My name right on the cover letter. Attached was a note. Thought you should be aware of what's happening under your roof. Ethan has been using company hours and resources to cultivate an inappropriate relationship with a coworker, all while misusing joint household funds. I can provide additional documentation if needed. That same day, I called Gail. Hey, I said calmly. I won't be at family dinner tomorrow. She sounded smug. Oh, I'm moving out. Papers are coming Monday. And just so you know, I've sent all the evidence of Ethan's little emotional affair and financial dishonesty to his company. They might still promote him. But if they don't, you can thank yourself. She stuttered. I hung up before she finished. I packed up while Ethan was at work Monday. Movers came early. I took only what was mine. Left the furniture, the dishes, even the damn air fryer. The only thing I left on the dining table was a printout of a divorce petition, my new address, and a USB drive labeled, in case you ever doubt why. Inside the USB was everything. Screenshots. Bank records. My chef photo. Even that dinner table post that got 300 likes. That night, I turned my phone off and drove to Chicago. It was quiet on the drive. Long. But I didn't feel sad. A few weeks later, I got a call from his firm's HR rep. They asked a few follow-up questions. I sent them everything. Didn't need to embellish. Just the truth laid bare. And the truth was ugly. I don't know the exact details, but a friend of Ethan's emailed me anonymously 2 months later. He didn't get the promotion. Nicole was reassigned to another office. Ethan was moved off his major accounts and put on a performance plan. Last I heard, he's still in that role. Still clawing for something that slipped away the day he brought his family into our house and let them destroy the one thing that mattered: respect. As for me, I live in a small apartment near the lake in Chicago. I walk to work some days. I take cooking classes on weekends. I still cook that same short rib meal every now and then. Just for myself. I plate it nicely, pour a glass of red wine, and light a candle. Sometimes I think about him sitting at our old table with an empty plate. He thought I'd stay small forever. Thought I'd clean up, forgive, and keep serving. He was wrong. He didn't just lose a wife. He lost the one person who ever gave a damn enough to make him dinner from scratch.